Okay guys, so we have arrived at Camdeboo cottages. Let's go inside and see what they look like.
So welcome to Camdeboo cottages.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we've got 8 self-catering units. They're all historical old homes, and then they've been renovated, but some are still boasting yellow wood floors, old reed ceilings. So come along, let me show you a bit.
Fantastic. Let's go have a look. Oh, how cute.
I think it's nice for the visitors if they realize that, they can retain some of the 1800s still in life in Graaff-Reinet. So when they stay over, a small cottage with all the amenities, nowadays you need aircon, DSTV, all of that, secure parking, but yet something of the old.
Yes.
And then I think the yellowwood floors, the reed ceilings, and the quaintness of the old cottages are definitely something that people enjoy when they stay in Graaff-Reinet.
Definitely. So you're going to show us around a little bit?
So you always have a lounge, and then bathrooms have been modernized with a shower, and originally these houses would not have been built with a bathroom. Oh. So you would have had the central passage, yellowwood floors, coming into bedrooms. There would have been a lounge and a kitchen. Oh, so in this cottage, when they modernized, they already decreased the size of the kitchen to add it, because years ago the bathroom would have been outside still. So this is how old this cottage is. It was built in 1840.
1840?
Yes. So it's got a flat roof, typical Karoo style architecture. And the big thing about it is that people will always ask, because it's got a flat roof, isn't it very hot inside? Yes, modern times we've added air cons. But in those years, what they've done is there would have been a ½ a meter of clay mixed in with cow dung to help keep the cottage cool, as well as outside you'll see shutters on all the windows, and that was also a method to help and keep the cottages cool in the heat of Graaff-Reinet. 48 degrees plus in our summer. Lovely, but that's why we've got a pool. All right?
Indeed.
So on our left here we have a family unit. So the cottages are 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom. So some of them can accommodate 4 people, some can accommodate 6 people. So, yeah, and I think it's like a nice, on the way to the coast, overnight stop in Graaff-Reinet. Mostly in December, that's our target market, is families.
Okay,
yes. And there's a lot to see in the Graaff-Reinet area with your children, so people enjoy stopping over here. Definitely.
Obviously.
Yeah. And you'll see when we go to the valley.
Fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Then we've got just wait for it. Just do a... And then we have the pool area.
Love this little kitchen. It's just cute and quaint.
I think most people years ago always preferred units with kitchens. Yes. But we are finding that more and more people are actually ordering in supper when they arrive. Yes. I think our braai facility is quite popular still. A lot of people around the pool enjoy to braai. But I would say probably close to 70% of people staying come and they enjoy either the lamb chops or the lamb shank or something of the Karoo cuisine.
That sounds divine.
Yeah, definitely. So that's always a nice little treat as well to offer supper for your guests.
Yes, absolutely. I just take it for myself. If I travel, I don't want to be bothered by having to cook.
That's true. And we also offer breakfast. So breakfast is in here. We have... a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new. I think it's been due to my mom. I've always been interested in buying up old furniture. So we mix and match as best we can in Graaff-Reinet.
Lovely.
And then, so this is our venue for breakfast. And then over there, across the pool, that's where we do evening meals. And the braai area in the corner. And we do have ensuite rooms. I think... those that really do not have any need for a kitchen, they book as well units in the garden. Nice veranda to sit outside, relax.
Fantastic.
So it gives the room is, of course, just a room with a bathroom, but where the cottages have got the lounges and everything, what you have here is a bit more open space.
And I just want to mention, quickly that I can see the love for the old and the new.
Oh my gosh,
you've
yeah.
got some beautiful things
That we're still busy.
sort of staggered everywhere.
Yeah, and we're busy
you know?
renovating and like reupholstering and fixing, and then we sort of change furniture within the cottages and in the rooms.
So it's an ongoing process.
You never stop. Where if you
Oh,
live in
fantastic.
Graaff-Reinet, I think restoration is part and parcel of the deal, as well as I think people living here, you just fall in love with old furniture.
I can imagine. And the cottages and the building style kind of lends itself to all of that.
Yeah, it's true. Let me switch on a couple of lights for you. So we have rooms with ensuite bathrooms, and then there's of course always coffee and tea facilities, and the bathroom will only have a shower.
Yeah, but most people these days, especially with our watertight situation in South Africa,
True.
per se,
Yeah.
we prefer showering, not
That's
bathing.
very true. Yeah. And also,
we do shower. We just don't bath.
well done. Interesting enough about this particular floor is when we renovated this house, that was the stoop. So
Oh,
we
wow,
actually just
okay.
kept the stoop,
Oh,
the
divine.
tiles, and then we
Okay.
just added the shower. So a lot of times when we do alterations to buildings in Graaff-Reinet, you're not allowed to change the the street view of the buildings, but what you do in the
Yes.
backyard, as long as it fits with the architecture of the town, you're allowed to extend.
Yes.
But of course, you can't now turn it into a double-story, three-story building.
Yes, yes, yes.
So a lot of people have definitely expanded to the back of their homes,
yes.
and that's why I think Graaff-Reinet's got a very interesting appeal, because it's a beautiful 1800 settings if you drive down the road.
Yes.
But once you get to know the people and you get into their backyards, it's a total different story. It actually is modern.
Awesome.
There
So
you go.
that's actually the original tiles from
From the stoop. And that was the stoop.
Oh my word.
So we just this was a lounge originally in this old house.
Wow.
So then what
Amazing.
they've done is, so we turned the
Yes.
lounge into a room, and we just added a bathroom on the stoop.
Okay, and that's where the beautiful fireplace comes from as well.
Yeah, everything we see.
And that's a working fireplace.
Yep.
Okay, so when I come back, I'm going to stay in this room.
More than welcome to,
I
all
want the
right?
room with a fireplace.
It's always more romantic, definitely.
Awesome. Well, this is absolutely stunning.
Oh, thanks, Sharon.
Thank you
and
so much.
And I do hope you guys enjoy Graaff-Reinet. It
I'm
has
sure
so
we
much
will.
to offer. And, we are really keen on, boasting of what the Eastern Cape has to offer. And I think the gem of the Karoo, as we fondly call Graaff-Reinet, is a
Fantastic.
great stop
Yes.
in order to explore the surrounding towns. So we're looking forward to having visitors.
So guys, we are in the uMazazaki Township here with Kwanele, who is taking us on the uMazazaki Township tour. But for today, we will be focusing on Robert Sobukwe. So we're standing in front of the Sobukwe Learning Center and Museum. Kwanele, thank you so much for chatting to me.
Thank you for having me.
It's awesome. Trust me, the pleasure is all mine. So tell me a little bit about Robert Sobukwe. Who was he? Where is he from? And why is he still relevant in today's day and age?
Okay. My name is Kwanele Kona. I am a resident of here in uMazazaki. Robert Sobukwe was born here in Graaff-Reinet in 5 December 1924.
Okay.
Yeah, he was born, but he used to live here in Sobukwe Street. Basically, Robert Sobukwe was just an icon, a South African icon, like many other icons, like Nelson Mandela, like Chris Hani and everything. But
Yes.
yeah, he was basically the icon that came from Graaff-Reinet, that we as Graaff-Reinet people look up to till today.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and also the main important thing about him right now, he is still relevant to till this day, you know. So all the things he was talking about, all the things he was fighting about back in the days when he was still fighting for freedom, apartheid times, are still relevant today. As you can see, even the parties like the EFF and all of those are still fighting, are still taking some parts of his statements to fight for South Africa and South African black people.
Yes.
You know, so as basically I can say he's still relevant because a lot of challenges he was fighting for back then
Yes.
are still the challenges that are still the challenges that are being fought till this day.
Fantastic. And tell me, on the Umazazaki Township tour, what exactly do you do with your people that come on the tours?
Yeah, in my township tours, I just tell the history of the people of Umazazaki. I tell the history of the town and the township. As you may have known, that Graaff-Reinet is the 4th oldest town in South Africa.
Okay, I actually didn't know.
So following Cape Town and Stellenbosch, then Swellendam, then Graaff-Reinet. So it's the oldest in the Eastern Cape. So all the others are in the Western.
Yes.
So yeah, it's the oldest in the Eastern Cape. So it has a lot of rich history in it, you know.
Yes.
It has a lot of rich history in it, and it's an old town, and the people of this town, many of those people are still withholding those traditions and norms that used to be done back in the days.
Fantastic.
So it is nice to go around the town showing everyone how people socialize, the cultures of the people, all different cultures, how they come together in the township, and also how they communicate well with each other, you know.
Fantastic, yes.
Yeah, so I mostly tell them about the culture and history of the township.
That is amazing. Kwanele, thank you so much. And are we going to go and have a look at where Robert Sobukwe grew up?
Yeah, we will. Because at the moment I am not quite sure where he grew up, you know, because there's just a home here.
Yes.
It's in Sobukwe Street.
Okay.
Where the street is named after his father.
Awesome. Fantastic. Okay, well, let's go, folks. Let's go and have a look. So, Kwanele, I see the museum is not open yet. When is it due to open?
It is actually earmarked to open somewhere this year in 2021, maybe going to 2022. As you have known that because the Sobukwe Museum was about to open, and then COVID struck.
Yes.
You know, COVID struck, and then they had to close down again for more. For a little bit some time, so that the restrictions can be a little bit eased and everything. But there are people who are working there inside to make sure that whenever they open, they will be ready. You know, so
Okay.
I am one of those people that actually am an intern there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm an intern for tour guiding there.
Oh,
so I'll be the
wonderful.
tour guide there, and I'm actually doing some research and everything, more about Utatu Sobukwe, more about the town,
Yes.
and more about the township, you know. So
Oh, that's fantastic.
yeah, so and the museum will have the history of the town, the township, and
Yes.
all the people that are not actually recognized in the books of history that live in the township here. You know, so
Okay,
a lot
I'm
of
with you,
them,
with
yeah,
you,
a lot of them were
yes.
interviewed. A lot of them were asked questions about all in the back in the days.
Yes.
Some of them grew up with Utatu Sobukwe. Some of them knew him from church
Oh, fantastic.
or even
Okay.
from in the township. Maybe either they were smaller than him, or they were much his age or younger than him. I mean,
Yes,
older
yes.
than him. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it will open soon. Well, there are
great,
just a
yes.
few technical issues that needs to be dealt with, and then
Okay, okay. And I suppose that's going to be a very important part of preserving the history and teaching the younger generation specifically about one of the icons of Graaff-Reinet.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Because in one of the things we realized is that not everyone is exposed to the history of Utatu Sobukwe, you know.
Yes,
Not
yes.
everyone knows and understands him, what he is for and what he stands for, actually.
Yes,
you understand,
yes.
especially the younger generation. You know, so
Absolutely.
we have to push and make sure that we teach them in depth about Utatu Sobukwe, because yes, we do history in school, and then history books have him,
Yes,
but
yes.
they don't have a lot on him.
Absolutely.
They don't have a lot
absolutely.
on him. So we have to make sure we go into depth and teach them about Utatu Sobukwe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in the history of their town they live in, and the history of the township. We also have a lot of programs going on there in the museum. We're like craft tech clubs.
Okay,
yeah,
that's awesome.
where they
Yes.
also teach children in coding. You know, they
Okay.
teach children in coding
That's
and
wonderful.
how to
Yes.
program games and everything.
Oh,
So
wow,
as I was saying,
fantastic. Yes.
we are just preparing for when we open finally,
Yes.
so that we know what is what. We know we'll do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna do that. You know,
Fantastic.
so it's not just closed.
Yes.
We are just preparing for
That's wonderful.
the future.
And then, do you think that the opening of the museum will do wonders for tourism in this area?
Yeah, I think so. It will. I think so, because I think it will attract a lot of tourism.
Yes.
It will attract a lot of tourism, and it will have a new. It will be a new attraction site where people
Absolutely.
that come to Graaff-Reinet be like, okay, I have something new to go to,
Yes.
and then people in the township as well
Yes,
can also
yes.
benefit from that.
Fantastic. Cornelia, is this the house that you mentioned where Robert Sobukwe stayed?
Yeah, this is the house where I mentioned where Robert Sobukwe stayed. As I mentioned before, I'm doing tour guiding in the museum, so
Yes.
I am more responsible for making sure I do proper research to make sure that I know at least everything about him. In one of the information I found, in one of the videos I found of him,
Yes.
I mean of his history, but not of him.
Yes.
I found that this is where he used to stay with and sleep in.
Yes.
With his wife and kids. This is where they live.
Okay.
And he actually had a lot of books. As you know, he was
Yes.
into literature and poetry and all of those things. So he had a
Absolute
lot.
scholar.
Exactly.
Yes.
He had a lot of books in here as well. So
Okay,
as small
divine.
as small as it is, he had a lot of reading material.
Yes.
So yeah, so this is where he used to live.
Okay, fantastic, wonderful. So this place is really steeped in history, and especially African history.
Yeah, it's really steeped in history and African history as well. As I was telling you before, the history is still rich here.
Yes.
And cultural history is still rich here, and people of this town still practice the cultures, you know,
Yes.
their cultures of, for example, in like going to mountains, like initiates and all of
fantastic.
those things, you
Yes.
know. Tato Sobukwe is an icon of the world.
Yes.
He's well recognized in the world, and we are proud that he comes from here, you know, and then we are proud that he, in his day of when he was still living, he wasn't ashamed to say he comes from
Yes.
here, you know. So everyone who grew up with him, who grew knowing him or looking up to him,
Yes.
are still looking up to him till this day, you know. So
Fantastic.
everyone has something to say about him. So he was
Yes.
just a character he was
That's
just someone to look up to.
Wonderful. Oh, that's fantastic. Kwanele, thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure spending time with you and learning about Robert Sobukwe's history and actually coming here and experiencing this. So thank you so much for that and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
A small town like Graaff-Reinet, there's about always three factors that I discuss with people to say that is crucial to the survival of a community like Graaff-Reinet. And first and foremost is the quality of the schools that you have. Reason being, the farming community supports the town where the school is, where the children actually attend and go to hostel. So Graaff-Reinet is boasting with two beautiful schools. One is Union High and the other is Folk School. Now between the two, they draw in a lot of the farming community up until about 250 kilometers radius around Graaff-Reinet. And those parents coming in on a Monday, they of course shop in town and support the economy. And that results in small businesses in a town like Graaff-Reinet thriving. And that's what we want. We want more people building up the local economy, and for that we need the good schools. And the second factor that we always have to look at, and that we'll see when we're at top of the Valley of Desolation, you're looking down over the town of Graaff-Reinet. Beautiful sight. And you'll notice the way that the town's mountains on both sides prevents the fact that there can never be a bypass, meaning the traffic will always be channeled through the town of Graaff-Reinet, meaning the little businesses will survive. The minute you build a bypass, it's the death of a small town. So luckily for Graaff-Reinet, the way it's situated will always have people traveling through. Now tourism today is probably like the biggest cornerstone of the growing side of the economy. Farming, of course, is what the backbone of Graaff-Reinet is still surviving due to the fact that we have gloriously beautiful farmland, merino sheep, Angora goats, cattle, ostrich farming, farm stays, so tourism, ecotourism, that kind of thing. Hunting is taking a great, I would say it's debatable. Some people like the fact that there's hunting packages offered in and around Graaff-Reinet, but it does bring visitors in as well. And of course, we've got really pretty private game reserves within 60 kilometers of Graaff-Reinet. So that also draws a lot of overseas visitors when there is travel allowed from abroad. Another thing that makes Graaff-Reinet special is the fact that its streets are so wide, and the reason for that was years ago they had to have an ox wagon being able to turn. So that's when we go down Caledon Street, Church Street, Middle Street, you'll see the wide streets are due to the fact that the ox wagons had to be able to turn. Property in Graaff-Reinet is something that's quite unique. Most of the houses are built on the street. So everybody does have a back garden, but it is mostly not visible from the street. So our street view is really amazing. It's all these beautiful old, either Cape Dutch or even earlier. Most of the houses here actually what we would say are Karoo architecture. They are small flat room houses, and they have a central door, and then when you go down the corridor you'll see that there's shutters on both sides of the front door, meaning that there's two like bedrooms, and that will lead to a back room that used to be the kitchen. And years ago literally you had a house with only 4 bedrooms, and as the community became more affluent, as there was money made from cattle, from the merino sheep, they started building the bigger, more colonial houses with the higher ceilings. And that's probably about the end of the 1800s that those big houses started popping up in Graaff-Reinet. Now Graaff-Reinet is famous for the fact that we have over 220 private homes that have been declared national monuments. That's the most national monuments than any other town in South Africa. Then they'll get this little emblem that's next to the front door, and that declares the house as a national monument. Now years ago, if you lived in a monument, it was very strictly controlled, and that tradition is still continuing. So we still have where if you buy a monument, you have to keep it painted white and green. But a lot of these buildings now are being bought by people not wanting to live in it, but converting it into a business. And then you can apply to get special permission to actually paint it a different color. So occasionally as you drive through the streets of Graaff-Reinet, you'll see maybe a more cream colored building or a grayish building, but we're not allowed to have red or purple or any of the bright colors.
Guys, so we are in the historical town of Graaff-Reinet, and we're sitting in front of this absolutely amazing building called Reinet House. And I have Chantal Marais with me, who is a tour guide working and living in Graaff-Reinet. Chantal, thank you so much for chatting to us.
And welcome at Graaff-Reinet, Sharon. I hope you have a wonderful time. I always say, you know, for people coming to Graaff-Reinet, there's a couple of things that stick to mind. And if you have, not that I want to say you have to, but if you have time to have a local person take you around town, just bring these old buildings to life.
Definitely.
So I'm so glad that you're giving me the opportunity to sort of like boast about what Graaff-Reinet has to offer. And first and foremost, you know, the Reinet House where we are currently at is home to Andrew Murray. And Minister Murray is very famous throughout South Africa for the father of the Dutch Reformed Church. Minister Andrew Murray, he's a Scottish church minister, and luckily for us, he realized before coming to South Africa that the majority of the people from Europe that were already living in the southern point of Africa were of Dutch descent or came recently from Holland. So he himself went to Holland first to learn the language. So he arrived later than the 1820 settlers, and when he arrived in Cape Town, he met a very beautiful young lady, 14 years of age, and he was 32, a bachelor, and he said to her that he will wait till she's 16 and then they will wed. So initially he arrived as a bachelor in Graaff-Reinet, and he lived in this beautiful house all by himself, and then he went back to Cape Town, married her, brought her to Graaff-Reinet, and they also had 16 children.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Unfortunately, in those years, a lot of children died quite young, you know, from disease. So 11 of their children became adults. Of the 11 children of Andrew Murray, 5 of his sons became church ministers in the Dutch Reformed Church.
Wow.
And 4 of his daughters actually married a Dutch Reformed minister.
Oh, my gosh.
So 9 out of his 11 kids
Wow.
is associated with the NG Kerk. And 2 that didn't get involved with the church. One is James, and he's quite famous because he tended to the vegetable garden in the back of the old parsonage. But one thing that's quite nice about this old building as well is it tells a history of the 1800s and the people that in those days the church minister harbored everybody that came through.
Yes.
So a lot of famous people definitely sat down and had supper in this house.
Oh, my word.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's quite
Awesome.
interesting. And that's
Yes.
where James actually came in and what his role is, because James had to ensure that there was enough vegetables, you know, and produce to feed not just his own family, but all the people traveling through.
So Chantal, tell me a little bit about the Drasdy Hotel. Now, I mean, even if you don't know Graaff-Reinet at all, we all know about the Drasdy Hotel, but what is the history here and what is the significance of this hotel?
We in Graaff-Reinet always refer to it as the 4th oldest town in South Africa. And it all has to do with this remarkable building. Reason being that the first dros or drosti in South Africa was in Cape Town. Now that was where the Dutch was there. It was there like their court of law. That's where they went. That was the official government building where you had to pay your taxes, etc., etc. And as the Vryburgers left the Cape Colony, so that they sort of moved further away from Cape Town, they started planting grapevines with the French Huguenots, making money, and then the Dutch government would come and say, no, you have to pay your tax, and then they would set up the Dros Day.
Yes.
So the second Dros Day is in Stellenbosch, the third in Swellendam, and then they actually extended the size of the Cape Colony to what they believe would be the maximum size that they would ever require, and they earmarked the area Graaff-Reinet. So the town was established in 1786, but the drosti was built in 1806. So a good 20 years thereafter. And that was when, so if you were still farming then in the Graaff-Reinet area, you had to pay tax at this building. And then unfortunately a lot of people decided they're no longer keen on this tax-paying business. So that's where the Groot Trek, the Great Trek North started. So Graaff-Reinet was the last place that you can get any provisions before you headed north.
Wow.
And that's where we have today the Free State, meaning the state that's free, where you do not have to pay tax. So this building for many years then served as an official government building, and subsequent to that was bought by people and converted into a hotel. And finally the Rupert family with Dr. Anton Rupert became involved in 1977, and he always wanted the buildings in Graaff-Reinet to be restored back to its original form, as the original building plan. So Graaff-Reinet proudly has this beautiful thatched building as the Drosti Hotel, and today it's a 5-star hotel.
Oh, wow.
And also in the time where Anton Rupert bought up all the little houses, then the streets behind this building, and he converted that into accommodation for the hotel.
Fantastic.
It's really an amazing spot.
So Chantal, I'm quite curious. You brought me here to Merino, South Africa. So what is the significance of this?
In the Karoo, the merino sheep is of vital importance because it's dual income. You get money from the wool as well as from the meat.
Oh, wow.
So for the farmer, what he wants is what we would nearly term a super merino, an animal that can produce better wool quality, but as well as less fat and more meat.
Okay.
So what an organization like this does, it encourages them to think long term, as well as what changes can be done in order to enhance the merino. And one thing is what we call AI, artificial insemination. Yes. So they bring semen in from Australia, New Zealand, to enhance our genetic pool.
Wow.
In South Africa. Today, South Africa produce about 10% of the wool, of merino wool worldwide, and Australia and New Zealand nearly contribute close to 85-90%.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's actually fascinating.
It is, and in the clothing industry, etc., it's brilliant. Merino wool is such a great texture to use.
Yes.
And we just wish we actually had more, development with merino wool in our town. But I think that's going to happen in the future, definitely.
I was about to say, I have a feeling that might happen at some point, definitely.
And I think also, especially like yourself, if you're into endurance and so forth, the quality of merino, a lot of the, what's it called, that you wear underneath?
Your base layers.
Your base layers. A lot of them are made from merino wool.
Okay,
yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so you must look out for the quality sign, the merino wool sign next time.
Well, there you have it, folks. Look out for that merino sign. we are in the Camdeboo National Park, and I've got Leonie Forshare with me, and we are going to do some bird watching and game viewing. Now, Leonie, thank you first of all for being with us today, and tell me quickly, when did you start, or when did you become interested in doing bird watching, and how long have you been going?
Sharon, thank you, and thank you also for this opportunity. I, quite by coincidence, got into the birding hobby, and that was late in 2009 when Camdeboo National Park had its very first birding, it was actually an annual event, which a number of the parks around us also have, throughout the country in fact. And I saw the ad in the paper and I decided, okay, I'll register and see what it's all about. That was late in October, early in November 2009, if I remember correctly. And my first outing as such was with the Graaff-Reinet Bird Club in May 2010. And that's when the bug really bit me. So I've been birding since then, and it's a very, very enjoyable and interesting hobby. And Camdeboo National Park itself has an amazing variety of bird species, so you're always discovering something new. And the different seasons, of course, also bring different birds. We've got some migrants that visit the park in the summer months, and some of them come from as far afield as Siberia. Wow. Asia, that section there, Europe. For instance, in December we discovered a European nightjar in the Winterhoek section of the park, and there have been many other very exciting and interesting discoveries over here. So it's well worth getting into the hobby.
Now, you mentioned a couple of birds that you've seen that's not that common. But if somebody like me, for instance, come in here, what is the most likely birds that you will see on any normal day in the Camdeboo National Park?
Okay, we would have our little brown jobs, the LBJs. Those would be your larks and your pipits. They are part and parcel of this habitat that you see around here, typical Karoo habitat. We would have the Karoo long-billed lark, for instance, and also the African pipit. They are quite common over here. Behind us with this dam, we have got weavers coming in. We've got the southernmost weaver as well as the Cape weaver, and then there's quite a variety of firefinches and waxbills. And at certain times of the day when they're coming in for water, which is usually around 10 to 11 in the morning and then late afternoon, you will find all the birds coming in, and wherever there's a bit of a puddle they'll have a bath and splash around a bit, and then you'll get the bigger ones coming in as well. We've got coursers here, so the typical birds would be in that range, yes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I'm looking forward to actually going and seeing some of these little birds and some of these not so little birds.
Let's see what we can find in the rest of the afternoon.
Awesome. Okay, guys, so we are going to go and do us some birding.
We have just heard a chestnut-vented tit babbler, new name, chestnut-vented warbler, calling from the acacia trees next to the road. As you can see, it is very dry over here. We have been in a drought situation for several years, and that has affected our veld quite radically and also had an impact on our birds. A number of our bird species have either died or they have moved further afield looking for food. We do have water sources here, but in the really bad times the underground water has dried up as well, and it's been extremely difficult for the park to provide adequate water for the animals that are within the park.
awesome is that, eh? That view of the town of Graaff-Reinet is just amazeballs.
Sharon, we're about halfway up to the lookout points at the Valley of Desolation, and along this path you will see there are a lot of dead trees, and that's as a result of a big fire that we had here a few years ago.
Oh, wow.
And down in Graaff-Reinet town we were looking up towards the mountain at night, and it was just a massive blanket of flame.
Now guys, this is what we're talking about. This is the Valley of Desolation. Feast your eyes.
Here's to another great sunset in the Karoo.
Absolutely, I second that. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, Leonie.
Thank you for a great day.
Awesome. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, everybody.
Well, guys, as the sun is setting here behind me on a fantastic, amazing, eventful weekend that we spent in and around Graaff-Reinet, I just want to mention one thing. If you have not been here yet, you should really come and do all the tours that we've participated in and come and see what we've seen and experienced this weekend. It is amazing. The people are fantastic. The sites are phenomenal. And let me tell you one thing. As we went on this tour with Professor Rubridge, I'm telling you guys, the rocks just start talking to you. The area around you start talking to you. You will never, ever view rocks and rock formations in the same way. You will never look at a mountain in the same way. So do come to Graaff-Reinet. Do come and experience the hospitality of this amazing area, Nieu-Bethesda area. It is just absolutely stunning. So guys, until next time, remember, be a tourist in your own country.